Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps the channel. Get ready to maybe question everything you thought you knew about life, death, and, the possibility of reincarnation. We're going to be diving into the strange case of the Pollock twins. You may have heard about it, but we're going deep. Today, we're examining all those details and evidence that was fascinated and baffled people for decades.
I think what makes this case so compelling is that it's not just a collection of vague stories. We're dealing with documented accounts,
Yeah.
observations from researchers,
Yeah.
and a story that really does raise some big questions about memory, consciousness, all that.
Yeah. It goes way beyond like your typical ghost story or just a spooky coincidence. So, to set the stage, it's 1957, Hexham, England. John and Florence Pollock are dealing with every parent's worst nightmare. Their daughters, Joanna, who was 11, and 6-year-old Jacqueline, were killed in a car accident.
This tragic event is really where our deep dive begins. And it's crucial to understand the depth of their grief, especially John's. He firmly believed in reincarnation. He clung to that idea that his daughters would come back somehow.
And they did. Just a year later, Florence gives birth to identical twin girls, Gillian and Jennifer, which on its own, that's already unusual. No history of twins in their family. But here's where things take a really strange turn.
Jennifer is born with these very distinct birthmarks that seem to mirror physical traits of her deceased sister, Jacqueline. It's like one birthmark on her forehead was exactly where Jacqueline had a scar from a childhood fall, and another on her waist matched a birth defect that Jacqueline had.
Wow, okay, chills. Identical twins, one of them with marks that resemble her deceased sister. But it doesn't end there, right? What about the memories these twins reportedly had?
Well, as the twins start to speak, they begin to identify toys that belong to Joanna and Jacqueline. Not just any toys. They would name specific toys, even though they had never seen these toys before in this life.
It's like they were picking up right where their sisters left off.
Yeah.
Did the family also visit Hexham at some point?
They did. And during that visit, the twins could describe locations in detail, like the school Joanna and Jacqueline attended and a particular playground they loved. Gillian and Jennifer had never been to these places in their current lives.
Hold on. So these young twins are recalling details about places and objects from their deceased sisters. How is that even possible?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And it gets even weirder when you realize that they reportedly recognized family friends calling them by names only their deceased sisters would have known.
Like their past lives were influencing them somehow. Were there any other big similarities between the twins and their sisters?
Oh, absolutely. Gillian seemed to have the personality of Joanna, the older sister. She was more, I guess you could say, motherly and showed leadership qualities. Jennifer, on the other hand, was more reserved and dependent, kind of like Jacqueline had been. And even their interests were similar. Gillian loved to write just like Joanna, and Jennifer was fascinated by jewelry, a passion Jacqueline had shared.
Okay, now I'm really seeing why this case is so fascinating. But there's one detail that's really stuck with me. Their shared fear of cars. Didn't they have a really specific reaction to seeing cars?
Yeah, both girls would get super distressed at the sight of speeding cars. They'd cry out, "The car is coming to get us!" And this is really strange because their parents never talked about the accident in front of the twins. So where would that fear come from, if not from some kind of memory of their past lives?
It makes you think, right, like that fear was somehow connected to the trauma of that accident. Even though they didn't consciously remember it in their current lives, it all seems almost too crazy to be true, but the details are so specific, so intertwined.
It really makes you rethink what we think we know about memory and consciousness, right? I mean, some people might try to write it off as just coincidence, but how do you explain away birthmarks that match injuries, personalities that mirror their dead siblings' specific memories of places and people they shouldn't know about?
Yeah, it's hard to ignore all of that as just random chance.
Really does make you think, huh? Now you might be thinking, is there anything else like this? Well, the Pollock twins aren't the only ones. There are tons of cases of kids claiming to remember past lives. And there's one researcher who spent his whole career studying these cases.
You're talking about Dr. Ian Stevenson, right? He was a big name in reincarnation research. Didn't he investigate like thousands of these types of cases?
Yep. Dr. Stevenson spent decades studying over 3,000 cases of children who said they remembered past lives. His work was all over the world, and he was very careful about documenting everything, looking for any patterns or proof to back up what these kids were saying.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did he find any common things in these cases that make reincarnation seem more believable?
One of the most interesting things he found was that kids would have birthmarks or physical traits that matched injuries or illnesses from the people they claimed to have been in their past lives. This was a key part of the Pollock twins case, with Jennifer's birthmarks being so similar to Jacqueline's. But it happened a lot in his research. It didn't matter what culture or where in the world the cases were from.
So like a kid in rural India being born with a birthmark, that's exactly where someone they claim to have been in a past life had a gunshot wound.
Exactly. And he would do all this research to verify the details of these past lives, checking birthmarks against medical records, researching historical records, and interviewing people to see if these weird things really lined up with real people and events.
His research sounds super thorough, but I'm sure some people are still skeptical. What are some of the arguments against Dr. Stevenson's work?
Of course, there are always other ways to explain things, and skeptics do make some good points. One thing they say is that maybe these kids are picking up information or stories from their families without realizing it and making up these past life memories based on that. Basically, they're saying they might have really good imaginations or be good storytellers, not actually remembering past lives.
I see. But wouldn't that be true for the Pollock twins, too? Their parents were grieving and never talked about the accident, but the twins still might have picked up on something right. Could that have influenced their memories?
It's possible, but here's the thing. While parents or cultural stories might explain some of these cases, they don't really explain the birthmarks, especially when they're so specific to the dead person. We're not talking about just any birthmark, but ones that are in the exact same spot and look like the injury or unique feature of the person they claim to remember.
So it's hard to completely dismiss these cases, especially when there's physical evidence, like with the Pollock twins. It seems like we have this puzzle with compelling stories, meticulous research, and yet so many questions that science hasn't really answered.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that's what makes it so interesting. It makes us question everything we thought we knew about consciousness and memory and even reality itself.
It's like this bridge between science and logic and the world of the soul and the afterlife, which has always fascinated people.
Exactly. This case isn't about saying reincarnation is definitely real or fake. It's more about making us think about the human experience and understanding that there might be things happening that we just don't get yet. Maybe there are things about consciousness and memory that we are just starting to figure out.
That's kind of a humbling thought, isn't it? That there's still mysteries out there that we can't explain. Mysteries that we may never fully understand.
Totally. And sometimes those mysteries make life more interesting. Before we talk more about the cultural and historical side of reincarnation, let's think about this. As the Pollock twins got older, their super vivid memories of their past lives started to disappear.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask about that. It's almost as if those early memories just faded away as they got older and their present lives became more important. Is there any scientific explanation for that?
There are a few theories, but nothing for sure. Some researchers think that as kids' brains develop, they kind of naturally focus on new things and what they're learning in the present. It could be that those brain connections related to the strange early memories become harder to access as their brain focuses on storing new information. Like those memories are still there, but hidden beneath the surface.
I can see that. So it's not that they completely forget, but it's just harder to remember. But why would these memories even pop up in the first place? What's the point of remembering past lives, especially if you're going to forget anyway?
That's a really big question, and it's one that's confused people for a long time. Some think it's like a reminder that we're all connected somehow, like our soul or consciousness is bigger than just one lifetime. Others think these memories are there to teach us something, like lessons that we can carry with us into our next lives.
Those are interesting ideas, but they just lead to even more questions. Do you think that as we learn more about the brain and consciousness, we might actually figure out how these memories work? Could there be a scientific reason that we just haven't discovered yet?
It's definitely possible. Neuroscience is changing all the time, and we're learning so much about what the brain can do. Maybe one day we'll find something in the brain that explains these things. But right now, it's still a huge mystery. It reminds us that there's so much about being human that we still need to explore.
Yeah, the human mind is pretty amazing when you think about it. But before we get too deep into that, let's talk about reincarnation in different cultures and throughout history. The idea of rebirth isn't new, right? It's been around for ages.
You got it. Belief in reincarnation is a core part of many Eastern religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. It's also been around in ancient cultures like the Greeks and Egyptians. The idea that our soul or spirit doesn't just die but keeps going, taking on new forms and living multiple lives is a really old idea.
So if reincarnation is so common in other cultures, why does the Pollock twins story seem to be such a big deal, especially in the West, where not as many people believe in reincarnation?
I think it's because there's just so much detail in their story and so many unusual things happening all at once. The birthmarks, the personalities that are so similar to their dead sisters, the specific memories, and even their shared fears. It's hard to say it's all just a coincidence or made up.
It's like all these different pieces fit together to make a really impactful picture. Even if it makes some people uncomfortable, it makes you think about some really big questions about what it means to be conscious and alive, and whether there's something more after we die. It makes us question everything we thought was real.
Exactly. And in a way, that's why it's so interesting. The Pollock twins make us think about things in new ways and be open to ideas that might make us a little uncomfortable. They make us question what we know and consider the possibility that there's a lot more to life than we realize.
We've covered a lot. The tragic accident, the twins, and their memories, Dr. Stevenson's research, and even how reincarnation is viewed around the world. So as we wrap things up, I have to ask, where does this leave us? What can we take away from this whole Pollock twins story?
Well, I think it reminds us to be curious and open-minded about the world. The Pollock twins really make us rethink what we think we know about life, death, and what it means to be conscious. Even if you don't believe in reincarnation, it forces you to ask yourself some pretty big questions.
It makes you consider things that science can't really explain yet. What do you think is the biggest impact this case has had?
For me, it's the reminder that we still don't have all the answers, and maybe that's okay. Wanting to know more, wanting to understand the things we don't know is what keeps us moving forward and learning.
I agree. It's about being okay with not knowing everything and realizing that there might be things happening that we just don't understand yet. But this isn't just about big ideas or science experiments. It's a human story. It's about parents who loved their kids and never gave up hope.
You're right. The Pollock family went through something terrible, but they found a way to deal with their grief and hold on to a belief that gave them comfort. Their story shows how strong the human spirit is and how much we're capable of loving and hoping, even when we face something awful.
It shows that even when things are really bad, we can still find ways to heal and connect with each other and make sense of things that don't make sense. And maybe that's one of the biggest things we can learn from this. The human spirit can find meaning even in the face of life's biggest mysteries. So we end this deep dive with a lot more questions than answers. Did the Pollock twins actually remember their past lives? Is there another explanation for all the similarities and strange memories?
That's up to each of us to decide. We have to look at all the information, think about the different theories, and come to our own conclusions. There might not ever be one right answer that everyone agrees on, and that's okay. The best part about cases like this is that they make us think, make us learn, and make us wonder about the things that make us human.
It's a reminder that even with all our scientific advancements, there's still things we just don't get. And maybe by trying to figure them out, we learn something even more important about ourselves and the world we live in. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps the channel. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the incredible story of the Pollock twins. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep looking for the amazing in the everyday.